Namaskar, Pranam, Vanakkam, Jai Durga. A very happy Navratri to everybody. And in this second part of this Navratri special, we will get to know from Shiv Semaji a little more about what we do, what the Bharatiya Sanskriti does during the Navratri celebration, what it signifies in different parts of the country and celebrated in different forms. But before we go to that, would you like to speak something, let us know something about this Lalita Sahasranama and the Saundarya Lahari, very beautiful poetic compositions that represent our obeisance to the Devi.
It is our bhagya to be able to talk about the Devi, which is what the very great Guru Sri Adi Shankaracharya says in the very first shloka of Saundarya Lahari, that pranantum stotum va kathamakrita punyaha prabhavati. Unless I have done some punya, how can I even meditate on you or do namaskar to you, because you are worshipped by Hari, Hara and Brahma. So here, the Lalita Sahasranamam was given by the Vak Devis, the goddesses of speech. They were given to Sri Hayagriva. Hayagriva is that form of Sri Hari Narayan Vishnu, wherein he has the face of a horse. He had taken this to give us the very essence of knowledge. And Sri Hayagriva had done Upadesha of this to a very great Rishi known as Agastya Rishi. And Agastya Rishi goes on to give us the Lalita Sahasranamam. You can find this in the Brahmanda Purana, which talks about how goddess Lalita came to destroy one asura known as Bhandasura. The very word Bhanda means important. Often we find people telling, no, I can't do this, they can't do this, or they may be telling you cannot do this. That is Bhanda, the projection of impotency. So Lalita is she who destroys that form of insecurity, that impotency that we go through from time to time. And that too in a playful way. So the reading of this Lalita Sahasranamam is done in a very clean place with a clean physical and mental body, because there are Bija mantras hidden within it. It is just like how we would operate a transformer with care. So similarly, with a lot of bhakti, when we do this Parayan, after learning it from an appropriate Guru Mukha, we will be able to experience the Divine Mother immediately. And in the Saundarya Lahari, Adi Shankara Bhagavad Padal describes the Divine Mother to us. Her glory, her greatness, her Shakti. To just give an example, they say that by us who are in want of something, if you want something, what does the Devi come to us as? She comes as a Chintamani. Chintamani is a stone which can give you anything. But the Devi will come to you as a Mala of Chintamani, meaning she is ready to fulfill your wishes instantaneously. So the Saundarya Lahari is waves of beauty describing Devi, so that when an Upasaka learns the Saundarya Lahari from a suitable Guru and then later reads it, he or she can immediately connect to the Devi in a powerful and an instant way. And many Upasakas have narrated their experiences where they have gotten darshan of the Devi after reading these texts. So the care is just that we should take this under the guidance of a suitable Guru. We just need to learn it and then follow whatever the Guru teaches.
The idea is also that these are very beautiful poetic and literary compositions, and these are a level of the development of language in such ancient times. If it were not even divine, if it were not even God, if it were not even religion, if it were not even spiritual, even then just the composition and the beauty of these compositions would be enough to show these as God and God's creation in a very, very beautiful form. We are very proud and we are very fortunate to have been born in this tradition where in those ancient times and since then till now, we continue to maintain and retain these traditions. And these have been, and this is the unifying factor all over Bharatvarsha, from an area going from Afghanistan to Indonesia, actually. And as it shrank, as the Bharatvarsha shrank with the passage of time, this still has grown outward because a lot of Indian diaspora now lives in the US, in the UK, in the Central Asia, in Russia, in Australia, in New Zealand, everywhere, in Africa. And so this is spread all over the places. And different people from different parts of India celebrate externally in a different way, even though internally it is the same basic concept of worshipping Ma Durga. I remember as a child in areas around Delhi, Punjab, Haryana, we used to look forward to the Ashtami when the Kanjakas would be invited home, the little daughters. And well, we were the boys, so we wouldn't be invited. But yes, we also would get that bowl of halwa, a pattal of halwa. And at the bottom of that, there would be a coin. And there would be like when the Kanjikas came home, the mothers would wash their feet, would give them respect, and then would feed them. And at the end, there was a gift at the bottom too. So we, some of us would have been told about the significance of all this. Many of us did not know the significance, and yet we continued. This is how it was celebrated in the Punjab. And I recently discovered a very special celebration in Tamil Nadu. You have a Kolu celebration where those statues, they pass from generation to generation. Would you like to tell about that? In
So
Tamil
as you
Nadu.
very beautifully started off with the Kanya Pujan, in Tamil Nadu, we have the practice of Gulu, wherein steps are built and there is a transition kept. So in the bottom you have animals, above you have humans, meaning people probably bringing water from the well, there's a temple, etc. Above that you have statues of Siddhas, Gurus, Rishis, Munis. Above that you have the various aspects of divine themes, like for example, the Dashavatar or Leelas of Krishna, scenes from Ramayana, from the Devi Bhagavatam. And above that, on top, we keep the statue of Durga or a Kalash, depending on the practice. So the idea is, one, we get to exhibit our talent, and there is a constructive activity going on. And the second is, you see the transition from the animal-like nature over the 9 days through your upasana to reach the feet of Devi Durga. And this very beautiful tattva that you described that happens in Punjab and Haryana, this happens in many parts of India, including the south and the east, wherein the Kanyas are worshipped. Because the Durga Saptashati says, Triya Samasta Sakala Jagatsu. Every stree, every lady who is on this planet, in this dimension, are forms of you. So how do you feel when someone treats you nicely? We feel nice. So we are treating our own daughters. In other words, we are teaching people in our house and the young people in our house that treat young girls with respect, because they are forms of the Devi. And we also have the worships of married women. We have worship of elderly ladies. So in short, we have them being fed, very sumptuous food that they like. And there is a lot of pampering. We are just honoring the divine in each and every one of us. So that whatever, we never know what the person in front may be going through, physically, emotionally, mentally. The moment this is done, you worship someone as the divine, there is a shift. And we can work towards Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. So the Gulu is practiced in Tamil Nadu and Andhra and Karnataka also.
So beautifully said. We need to revisit our culture and revisit with our children and with the generations ahead of us and those which are coming. that every daughter, on whether she is on the street or in the school or at home or in the office, we have to remember Durga Puja is not about the Navratri. It has to be every day. It must be every day. Our daughters should not just be secure, but very confident and joyous and happy, which they are, and for which they have a right to not need anybody's protection, because there is no risk, because they are the Devis. This has to get back into our mental framework. When we talk of Durga Puja, we just cannot talk of it without talking about Bengal and Gujarat and Maharashtra actually. So in Bengal, we have a very special Durga Puja with Durga Puja pandals. And in Gujarat and Maharashtra, we have the very joyous period of the Dandiya Ras and the. Would you like to dwell on that?
Um, so we have the pot in which soil is kept, and seeds are planted, which are then allowed to germinate, so that by the Vijayadashmi, you have full standing plants. So the Devi here is worshipped as Prakriti, nature herself, in the form of plants. And we are probably just reminding the next generation that the food that we eat is Annapurna, is the goddess herself. So honor the food. And this is very important in today's times when there's a lot of food wastage, taking it for granted. So honoring food and dancing in the evening to traditional music, because the mother is all about dance. In fact, some people often keep, pots of fire and then dance along with that. So similarly, as we saw towards the south, you have your skill and your talent being exhibited. You are also offering your worries and anxiety and forgetting it for a while, at least those 9 days, and placing it at her feet. And we find that by Vijayadashmi, the problems that were plaguing us are no longer there.
So Navratri is not just about the divine, not just about our connection with the divine, and not just about seeking the blessings. It is about reconnecting with friends, with family, and all these rituals that we have created. They're basically the tools to get us back together in the society, amongst the family, amongst the friends, in a very secure environment, and rejuvenate ourselves. So these 9 days are our days of rest and rejuvenation and reconnecting with ourselves, with our families, with our parents, our children, our daughters, especially, and to connect better with not only our loved ones, but also to celebrate life in many different facets. Celebrate with prayers, with feasting, with fasting, with dance, with joy, with music, and and to make the whole world a more beautiful, a happier place by spreading that happiness all around. We will talk more about the Dashami in the next episode. For now, namaskar, pranam, vanakkam. Thank you very much for this detailed explanation.